then thank you to the residents who've already joined. I think some residents will probably join as we carry on. Welcome to tonight, the first Meet the Contractors event on South Lambeth. My name is Abdi Jawali. I am the Communications and Engagement Lead for Homes for Lambeth, and I will be chairing this event. Just some housekeeping before I introduce our speakers. We are going, so to get the best view of who is speaking and the presentation, I would recommend clicking on, if you go to the top and you click on speaker view, that should give you the best kind of view of this event. The way this event is going to run is that residents can ask questions. So we've got a Q&A box at the bottom. And then you can submit your questions into there, and then I will be putting those questions to our panelists after our presentation. There might be in some scenarios where your question might not be able to be answered in this occasion, it might be too detailed, and we'll make sure that you are that all of the questions that are asked are put onto the website next week after our second event as an FAQs, but as well as a recording of this event so that you can catch up, or you can send it on to other residents that weren't able to make it tonight. So I'm going to stop nattering on now and introduce our panel. First, we've got Kevin Gregerty from Hills. Kevin is the contract manager at Hill. We've got Mark Roberts, who is a senior site manager at Hill. We've got Lynn Bell, who is the resident liaison and community manager at Hill. We've got Paul Wadinsky, head of delivery at Homes for Lambeth. We've got Lee Nichols, who is a senior construction manager at Homes for Lambeth. We've got Maxine Igbinedion, who is the resident engagement officer at South Lambeth for Homes for Lambeth. And we've got Ed Doherty, who is from HFL, who's one of our interns that we took on in the summer. So I'm going to quickly pass on to Lynn. I've got a question already, which is only speaker view is available. That's correct, Chris. So this is a webinar format, so it's a Q&A. So any questions you have, I recommend putting them into in the Q&A box, and I'll make sure that your questions are answered by the panel. I'm going to move forward and move on to the presentation, but feel free to submit questions, and after the presentation, I'll be putting them to colleagues from Hill and Homes for Lambeth. So Lynn, over to you. I'm going to share my screen.
Right, good evening, everyone. So there's two Meet the Contractor events. There's the one tonight and there's another one Saturday. Okay, if you turn the script, next slide. So this is just a quick shot of the people that are involved on the scheme. Some of them, Kevin's on the line now. Some of them you will not see on a day-to-day basis because they're like some of the technical people and the contract surveyors. You won't see, but you will see me, Kevin, Mark, and Helen Scottney is on the other end of our free phone 0800 number, which I'll explain a bit more about in the other slides. Next slide, please. A few quick facts about Hill. We've been around over 20 years now. We've got 5 regional offices. One of them is the Southern office, which this particular project comes under. And that office is near Gatwick. We're a 5-star house builder, and we build mixed tenure housing, so private for sale, joint ventures, and properties like we're building for Homes for Lambeth. We're financially robust. We're a family-owned firm, and we've won quite a lot of awards over the years. So next slide, please. Right, Kevin's going to take you through the timeline now of the things that'll be happening when we start off.
Good evening. So just to follow on from Lynn, more specifically about the project that we are commencing on the 12th of October. I'll run through the timeline and then I'll go into a little bit more specifics. Initially, we will have one site cabin, which is a self-sufficient, self-powered cabin that will come in on the 12th of October. Further into the project, mid-November, back into November, we will have a sort of slightly larger site set up so that our commercial team, technical team, and the other support managers will be based on site. So we have a full facility on site. Piling will commence early December. Piling is the sort of circular foundations that we drill into the ground following all the previous soil surveys and surveys that we've carried out. So it's all pre-designed to support the building and have no impact on the surrounding buildings. We will close, as a business, we shut down for the industry standard 2 weeks. So we will secure the site and we will shut down during the afternoon of Tuesday, the 22nd of December, and we will be back on site on the 6th of January. We don't go away, so the resident liaison numbers, etc., are still there. So if there happens to be a problem during that period, someone will come to site. We will also put in place monitored security cameras so that if we have any intruders, the external security company will phone the police immediately, and we also get contacted. Depending on the emergency or what the situation is, whether we attend immediately, i.e. in the middle of the night, or we arrive next morning. The reinforced concrete frame will commence early January, and it's due to complete in the summer. That is effectively the concrete shell or the main structure of the building, which sits on the piles, which I discussed a little earlier. And we then clad the building. This one is what we would call traditional. So the building's then clad effectively in brickwork, blockwork, etc. We will do regular newsletters regarding sort of milestone events, like i.e. the crane, which will be going up. That hasn't been firmed yet, but it's likely to be sometime in February. So as I said, during the course of the project, between myself, Lynn, Maxine, Paul and Lee, we will produce a regular newsletter which will go out to all of the residents, and it will advise of any, as I say, significant milestones coming up in the project. Currently, we are due to complete late summer 2022. If you could just move on to the next slide, please. Our standard working hours in line with local authority restrictions is 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. That's Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Saturday. That's not every Saturday, that's just when specialist deliveries or specialist works required. The only time we may have to go over those hours is during the construction of the concrete frame. Don't want to get too technical, but basically we have to pour certain sections structurally on a given day. If for whatever reason a concrete plant or breaks down, or there's heavy traffic for whatever reason and a truck is delayed, we have to finish that pour. When that happens, we get special dispensation from, or we believe that's going to happen. We submit a form that afternoon to Lambeth to advise them of what's happened, and I will advise, or the guy who's based on site via myself will advise Lynn that this is going to happen, and we will advise how that will be communicated to residents once we've discussed that in more detail with Homes for Lambeth. The Consider a Constructor scheme is basically a scheme that all our projects sign up to. We've got approximately, at this present moment in time, approximately 70 projects of this size, larger, all around London in the home counties, and all of our projects sign up to what we call the Consider a Constructor scheme, which is basically where we're self-monitored in terms of how we treat the guys on site, how we treat the presentation, how we treat our neighbours, how we pass on information, like I said, with the newsletters, how we deal with our water usage, our electric usage, how we deal with waste and how we segregate waste. So we're scrutinised fairly heavily from the CCS scheme on that. We also sign up to things like smart waste. So we're also signed up to other schemes where we're monitored on our waste usage. If you could go on to the next slide, please.
Shall I take over, Kevin, for a minute? Yeah.
Yep.
So on all the newsletters you're receiving and all the information you're getting at the moment, and on the site itself outside the gates, you'll find our free phone number and an email address. And that is monitored 8 till 8, 7 days a week. And you can leave the messages on there as well. And as Kevin said earlier, that operates throughout the year, over Christmas and New Year as well. And all your calls are logged, and then they're passed on to the relevant people to be answered, and then we come back to you with a response. Next slide.
Okay, I'll take over again. Yeah, thank you. We've had various sort of drawings going back and forth between ourselves and HFL, where we try and put out exactly what we're going to do over the first couple of weeks. So just without going into huge detail, if I just take you through this particular drawing or sketch here. So what we've said, it's in the leaflet, and I'll just repeat it and go into a little bit more detail. Basically, during the first weeks of the site setup, we need to use temporary fencing, which is the red dash line that comes out from Wimborne House entrance and gives, so in the highlighted yellow section, that will be the access predominantly for sort of wheelchair disabled use out of Wimborne House towards Dorset Road. The reason for that is, if you see the green line, we need to put in what we call timber hoarding, which is the safety barrier between our site and public. Basically, we would ask the residents to use the new main entrance, which I believe NG are putting in on the other side of the building. But if you need to use that exit, please do. We will have signage up directing you out. We will then remove one of the planters to the left of that yellow section, and we will put in a sort of more semi-permanent exit, which will give wheelchair exit and access out towards Cobbett Street. At that point, we will close that off and we will fully fence the site. And I'll take you to that next drawing in a minute. So as I've said in the leaflet that was sent out, signage will direct you and once the timber hoarding is in place, residents will be directed to Cobbett Street. Slightly repeating myself. Until all the existing paving and roadways within the site have been removed, here we'll have a temporary site cabin in place, which is the orange marked site cabin. From the 12th of October, parking, unfortunately, will be suspended directly in front of the site in Dorset Road. So that's just along where you see the green line next to Dorset Road, and in Cobbett Street opposite the entrance, which will to the new site. That's to allow, obviously, trucks to get in and out and not clog the local roads up. We have from last Monday set up baseline dust monitoring. That is to assess the levels of dust and pollution in the air. And then from the 12th of October, the day we're on site, sometime during that day, we will put up dust and noise monitors, which have been, basically, these have been submitted to the council on a dust and noise assessment, which again is to self-govern ourselves and the guys that operate on site. All our contractors have been issued with this assessment. Our site manager will be monitoring that during the day, and if any works are likely or at the point of exceeding any of those barriers, then they will be stopped and a new method will be found to stay within the parameters we've agreed. If you can move on to the next slide, please. So this is what it will look like. So again, I'm used to it because I've seen this many times, but the green line around the site effectively is our what we would call timber site hoarding, which you see on many construction sites in London. The reason we're putting up the temporary wire fence along Dorset Road is we have a fairly large electric cable to come in from Clapham Road. That will come down Dorset Road, turn into Cobbett Street and go into a substation within the building. Currently, due to the recent sort of COVID shutdown for a lot of construction projects, utility companies' timescales have increased. So we're hoping this will be done during November. So there will be wire fencing along Dorset Road until some point in November when the utility company install the electric cables for the project. Moving on, as I said, basically towards the end of November, early December, if you see the larger, where it says Hillside Cabins location, it's slightly larger than the previous drawing. That's basically 4 cabins, 2 stacked on top of 2, with a slightly larger setup for more staff to come to site. On all our projects, we will have a senior site manager who's the site lead. We will have a site manager who's the guy who will do the setup from the 12th, assisted by myself and the senior site manager. At some point, we will then we as a company have approximately 130 trainees in different disciplines going to university. So every project has a trainee. This one currently is allocated a production trainee. We will have a quantity surveyor. We will have a technical coordinator. That's the minimum we will have on our projects. COVID restrictions permitted. So that's basically the setup in terms of where we will hopefully be at the Christmas shutdown. What this doesn't show, because it gets too detailed, as I said earlier, we will have what we call, it's called an on-watch system. It's basically a camera that activates on movement and it's monitored externally. What happens is these guys are advised that the site is not operated or occupied from, shall we say, 6 p.m. to 8 a.m. the next day. We also have a switch on site. Once that has been activated, nobody is expected on site. So even if one of our managers was to arrive early, these guys are made aware, and they will initially make a phone call. If they don't get anyone, then they immediately phone the police. So it's for the added security of both our site and our surrounding neighbours. You could go on to the next slide, please. Just go back one. So this is a typical setup that we would have, what I said, when we have the full electrics and the full staff on site. This would sort of typically be what you would see above the hoarding line. Next slide, please, I believe. This is another project we're doing for Homes for Lambeth. Again, this is a typical sort of hoarding that you will see on Dorset and Cobbett Street and on a section of Clapham Road by the beginning of December. Some of this will be going up earlier, but as I said, a little earlier, we have some electrics that need to come down the footpath in Dorset Road. Until that's done, we can't put the permanent hoarding up. But that's a typical project. We pride ourselves on cleanliness and presentation. The road will be kept clean all times. There'll be jet washers on site. If someone does track anything on the road, it'll be cleaned immediately. The gate is manned permanently during working hours, so any trucks are reversed in and out. Pedestrians will take priority. As a business, we rely heavily on repeat work, so presentation is paramount to us, and we have basically directors who will visit site to check that we're compliant to Hill standards. From a health and safety point of view, we have both in-house and external audits. We have a minimum of 1 audit a month from our internal health and safety officer, and we have an external company that will come in the interim. Most of our larger subcontractors, i.e. particularly the RC frame contractor, they will also be obliged to do safety audits. So it's quite a detailed process for the site team to manage a project with the level of sort of scrutiny and monitoring that they're under, let alone HFL will visit regularly. They also do audits on the quality of our work. They also do audits on our safety. So the guys on site are literally monitored almost daily. Next slide, please. That previous project for Homes for Lambeth was a scheme involving the demolition of existing garages in Renfrew Road near Elephant and Castle. It's basically a 5-store residential building containing 16 affordable homes. It's got basement energy centre, which will assist at a later phase. It's got an electrical substation, bike store, associated landscape and parking. It's a development that some of the local people, I believe, are moving into. Next slide, please. This is a typical hill project. So basically working, I'll read it out to you, working with Network Homes, Ealing Council and the local community. This is a regeneration of Rectory Park Estate in Northolt, and it consists of phased demolition of 270 homes and the creation of 1, 2 and 3 bedroom apartments and houses with a community centre. This is typical of a lot of projects that Hill would be doing at this present moment in time. Next slide, please, Abdi. Another one, this is another regeneration for L&Q. It was an existing 1970s estate in East London by the Thames. The 189 existing homes are being replaced with 399 modern energy efficient properties. Next slide, please.
I think that's the end of it.
Okay, thank you.
How do I stop sharing my screen? Here we go. Brilliant. Thank you for that, Lynn and Kevin, for taking us through that. I've received one question, so I'm going to go to that question first, and then I'll ask Maxine to talk a bit more about the drop-in sessions that we're going to be doing at Homes for Lambeth. But first, I'm going to take this is a question from a resident, and essentially it's along the lines of, obviously the car parking spaces are going to be closed off. This is more for probably HFL. I don't know if Paul or Lee can answer this, or Maxine. But are there any contingency plans for the lack of parking? And is this something that the council are willing to do?
Well, at the moment, that is with housing management. So we take vacant possession of the site, so which means that the parking is suspended. So housing management from Lambeth are aware of that, and they should be contacting the residents. Brilliant.
Hopefully that answers Chris's question. Maxine, I'll come to Maxine very quickly. Maxine, can you tell us more about the new drop-in sessions that are going to be happening at the Green Shop, which will be starting next week, hopefully, which will allow residents to, be able to drop into the Green Shop once a week to speak to Maxine and others. Maxine, do you want to talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. Good evening, everyone. Yeah, excellent presentation there. Yeah, yes, well, I'm very excited. I'm new to South Lambeth myself, and I'm looking forward, first of all, to working with all of you residents and getting to meet you. So from the 6th of October, we're very excited to be opening the Green Shop on a very restrictive basis due to COVID-19. But what we want to do is to use it as a base and a point of contact for residents at South Lambeth who live on the estate, especially those going through this regeneration right now, to actually be a point of contact. So you're not just talking to us on the phone, you can see us face to face. I know that some of you don't have the access to laptops and whatnot, and hence why, and the only reason is why the green shop is being open at this time. However, while the shop is open, what we do want to do is use that time while we're in the green shop. So we will be arranging some social value programs for the residents. First of all, it's about information about the updates about the construction that is going on. So within the shop, we'll be displaying information, notices, and any other information that's relevant for the community as well. Not only that, the information, we're going to display it in Wimborne House and across the other notice boards, so that those who can't make it to the green shop or cannot make it there will also display it within your communal areas. Not only that, we are aware the shop has shutters, so we will put information on the shutters as well. What our aim is that you are not left alone. No more saying you don't know what's going on. My job is to make sure that you are informed and that we are listening to you. So I will be there every Tuesday, starting from 11 o'clock to 4 o'clock, to listen, for you to come in. Now, because of COVID, again, these appointments are going to be booked by slots, and we have an online form which you can fill, or you can give me a call if you don't want to do it, but we have an online call. So each appointment will be done by slots, half an hour. But even so, we will also be having a job search. We will also be having information about with the independent advisor. Yvonne Williams will be there on a Tuesday. So if you don't want to talk to me, if you want to talk to Yvonne about other issues and also about the information as well that we're offering, please, you're all welcome. So at the moment, that's all I've got to say. But please, I'm looking forward to working with you. Please do not be shy to talk to me, to give me a call, to text me. I will text you, I will call you back. Thank you.
That's embarrassing. I muted myself. Thank you very much, Maxine. And Chris, just on your comment, we will make sure this is minuted. So these events are being recorded and will be available on the website for you to see for future reference. We're also, hopefully from the question that you've asked, we'll create an FAQs document from this event and the event on Saturday, and that will be available on our website and hopefully in our newsletter as well next week. So thank you very much. Are there any other questions? I'm just going to have a look. Q&A box. Now I can't see any other questions. If there are there any comments from the team on anything that's been said?
Yeah, I would just like to add as well that this evening we have Paul and Lee. They are senior site management team, and they have offered as well to make site visits available. What I mean by that is that if you would like to see visually what is going on, the site managers, you can book an appointment through myself and we will arrange a site visit for you to view in a safe environment what is going on around the development, and you can measure and find out from each stage what is going on. So we are going to be informing you every step, every path of the way. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Maxine. If there are no further comments from the team and there are no other questions from residents, then I think we're going to wrap that up there. We've got another event on Saturday from 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Again, we'll be going through this, the presentation that we've just done, and taking any questions from residents. And as I said, these questions will be made available on our website, and this video in fact is being streamed to our YouTube channel, so it can be seen straight after this event. But if there are other questions, thank you very much to our panelists for taking the time out of their evenings. I thank you very much to our residents who have kindly joined us for this event.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good night, everyone.
Good night. Thanks.
No.
Bye.